Good evening. This is Noreen Sumter from Beyond Potential, Live Life Your Way. And tonight we have a really great show for you with Clarivel Ruiz and
Tasha Duget.
Duget. I'm getting my French lesson on. So Clarivel is the founder of
Dominicans Love Haitians movement.
And
the Black Doll Project.
Yes, the Black Doll Project. She's in the process of sending 1,000 black dolls to the Caribbean, which is Haiti and the Dominican Republic.
Well, I mean, the Caribbean is more than just that.
Yeah, I'm not, you know that, but these are the countries that you're focusing on.
So I'm focusing on the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Puerto Rico.
Oh, Puerto Rico. Okay, great. And she...
and Tasha
is your partner?
Tasha spontaneously was like, girl, I want to participate. I want to join. How can I help? How can I support? And I was like, yeah, come on, bring it on.
Great. So I just want to give a little background from you. So you say that you are a daughter of the land called, let me try to say that, Quisqueya?
Quisqueya. That's the indigenous that's the indigenous name of the island. So Quisqueya, Haiti, Boia. So those were the names that the indigenous people of the island actually gave that island, which is why Haiti, really Haiti, is called Haiti because it's really
Haiti, not Haiti.
Yeah.
Haiti.
Because it's really the indigenous name of the island.
Okay.
One of them, anyway.
And you say it's you're a daughter of this land. And land colonized but never conquered. Tell me more about that. I mean, I know what I know, but you tell me.
Well, as I see it, you know, here we have this country that really many countries, the Caribbean, not only the Caribbean, but Latin America, where there were people from Europe, Spanish people who came and attempted to destroy us. Right. And there's been an erasure inside of really having this conversation about the genocide that took place in the Caribbean. And because of the genocide that took place, there was enslaved Africans were brought to the Caribbean and to Latin America, and also to all of the Americas, right? Right. So that, for me, that sentence is honoring the idea that yes, people may have come, but that doesn't mean that we aren't here. Right. That we aren't claiming our ancestry, that we aren't claiming ourselves as free people who will never be destroyed, even though they attempted to do that, to destroy us and to have us be assimilated.
And so didn't Haiti just have an anniversary? Or
we had our yes, it was Independence Day on January 1st. Right. And we had our lovely soup jumu, which is our way to commemorate our victory for the revolution. The jumu was a squash pumpkin that was denied the enslaved Africans, and so a way to reclaim that, they started making the soup.
Right. So I know that I went to the 200-year anniversary of independence when it was the 200-year anniversary of independence in Haiti. I've been to Haiti 7 times, actually.
It's amazing.
Yeah. The last time I went, I did a project there. It was 2006 when this small town in Haiti called Mapu. Right, it's on the border of the Dominican Republic and Haiti.
Interesting.
They had floods. And this little town, it was like a really small town. They wasn't getting any of the supplies and stuff. So a group of us decided that we were going to collect food, clothes, medicine, water, condoms, because people still have sex.
Yes, they still do. Yes.
And we took it out there.
It is a human condition.
That's right. No matter what, and very no matter what's
very
going on, right?
If you're suffering, then that's probably one of the best medicines.
That's absolutely right.
Amen.
And so we took that stuff down there. So that was one of the trips, and then I went a couple of times with Haitian boyfriends that I had, but they have the best beaches. They have the best beaches.
I be trying to tell people all the time.
They have great beaches down there.
I haven't been to a Haitian beach as of yet. I just usually stay in the country when I go.
Right.
But I have goals to see other parts of Haiti.
Awesome. So you were raised in New York City, and you said the ancestral bones covered shrines of, I'm not going to try to say that. And
Lenape people, which are the Native Americans of this,
right.
of this, one of the tribes of New York. Yeah,
right.
The New York tribe that was.
And you
here.
say,
so you see, it's all about the idea of colonization and how they've attempted to take over, the idea of taking, and how it's in remembrance of who we are as the people. One of the things that I really am delving into is ancestral work, and really honoring our ancestors and the people who have come before us, inside of the uplifting them, so that I am uplifted as well.
Right.
So it's placing honor where honor deserves to be.
Right. And then you talk about the suffering from annihilation as the Bronx burned.
Oh, that was. Are you literally analyzing? You're analyzing each and every line.
No. I want to pay homage to the fact that you wrote that, and I'm even going to get into. You wouldn't write it if you weren't really sort of into it, right?
So I grew up in a time when I grew up when the Bronx was burning. Literally, literally, it was burning. There were these landlords who were literally setting their buildings on fire.
I've watched The Get Down.
And but it was really a scary thing. I remember as a child, it literally was infused into my way of you smelled fire, there was fear. It was like, you got to get out.
Right.
And many of times where my mother would bundle us up and we in the middle of the whatever to have us go down, because there was something might be happening. There's an impending something. I mean, and it did actually end up happening one time. Unfortunately, when I was 9, the super did set the roof on fire on January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Right. At January 1st, we came back home and the building was ablaze.
So your whole building burnt down?
Well, thankfully the building didn't burn down, but we were unable to live in that building anymore. Right. The super did the job that he wanted to do, which was to have all of us not be able to further live in there, and then to destroy the apartment building to build something else.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, that's an homage to how I grew up.
Right. Yeah. And I also see now why at 9 years old, right, you wrote a poem. I mean, at 9 years old, I don't think I was writing poems.
Yeah, I started writing haikus probably earlier than that. It was, during summer vacations, they would give you books. I mean, I was always reading a ton of books, a ton of science fiction books, always thinking about some kind of future. Probably trying to get out of the circumstances that I was living in.
Right.
And so inside of that, I would, they gave us these books, and they had, how to make, what's the Japanese origami, how to do this, how to do that. And so one of them was how to do haikus.
Right.
So I would entertain myself, writing haikus. So.
I can't even remember 9. I'm wondering, did I know how to read and write at 9? I did. I'm sure I did, but I don't remember wanting to do it very well.
9 was a very instrumental year, and I think in all of our lives, if you really go back, they kind of solidify who you are as a human being.
So, and then you taught children how to make documentaries.
Yeah, there was a point in my life timeline, where I was working at an organization teaching young people how to create documentaries. Yes.
Right. And so how we met again we met at Landmark.
We did meet at Landmark. Yes, we did.
And we've just kept in contact throughout the years. And how I know I keep in contact with you, I'm always asking you to write the good news.
Yeah, there's this, I have this idea that you keep telling me, yes, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it?
Because we have the news, right? We have the regular news with all the stuff that's negative, that we hear all the time, but we never hear about the good news.
Never hear about the good stuff.
And so I've been, asking her for years now, when are we going to hear about the good news? And actually, your project is a start of that. It's the good news.
Absolutely. You sometimes you have to take little steps. How do you eat an elephant? That's one of the things that we'd always say at Landmark. How do you eat an elephant? eat it one bite at a time. One bite at a time. So one thing will lead to the other thing. Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So.
And definitely the Black Doll Project is something that is calling people forward. It gives people so much pleasure. I mean,
I was overjoyed.
So tell me a little bit about you, Tasha.
I mean, what do you want to know?
I want to know everything there is to know. Okay. I like that necklace that you have on.
So it's actually a bow tie. There is a company, Be Great Bow Ties, and I'm one of their ambassadors. I happened to come across them on Instagram, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, they make these custom bow ties.
I love that.
5 words. And, you know, my first one was the Bronx, because I need to rep my borough, because, you know, it's like the underdog for some reason I don't understand. So
I know when it's so fresh, right?
You know what I'm saying? They just don't know yet. They just don't know. So I'm just trying to put
I don't want to know. It's too far.
Girl, bye. And the second word I chose was magic, because, you know, Black girl magic, and it's real. And I feel it every day down to my core. This was actually my third word, valor, because I think when we're in the circumstances that we are in, it takes it's a different type of bravery that you have to come in with, right? And so valor is like a heightened version of that, and just really being authentic to our narratives. And when I came across the Black Doll Project on my artist Instagram page, I was like, oh, this is dope. Right. You know, this idea. First of all, you had me at the name. Dominicans love Haitian.
Because you are from?
I am Haitian, of Haitian descent. Both my parents are from Haiti. I am the first generation American, rude. However, but I'm very strong in my Haitian culture, and it's always been something I was proud of. Long before Wyclef became cool. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, Wyclef's cool, and then it's cool to be Haitian. And I was like, you know, from before that, just in knowing what we were able to accomplish, and no one has been able to emulate since then, right? So having that type of pride has made me really happy in a way that I can't really articulate. So when I see, because everyone knows about the strain between Dominicans and Haitians and that type of storyline, but when I came across her page, I was immediately elated. And then when I saw the Black Doll Project, I was like, I have to be a part of that.
Right. Okay. So I know that, you know, being that Haiti was one of the first freed on there.
No, the one and the only, not one of the first.
You have to get that.
You got to get that right.
You got to get that right. That is so important.
Important.
So Haiti.
It was the only Black republic that actually revolted and won
against
the French. Well,
Yes, the French.
In
Spanish.
I was about to say one of the only.
The
only Black country. Let me restate that. The only.
Thank you.
Black country to free themselves by taking actions and fighting. So we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we'll talk about that, because I know you guys are really passionate about that.
Yeah,
I'm kind of passionate about it.
We're like, wait.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you stuck in a rut? Negative thoughts, feelings, and conversations got you down? Hi, I'm Noreen Sumter, the Potentiator. Tune in every Tuesday, 9 to 10 Eastern Time, and listen for new ideas on my show, Beyond Potential, Live Life Your Way, on talkradio.nyc.
Who do you want to connect with?
Are you an entrepreneur or intrapreneur looking to build your following?
Welcome to our show.
Follow Me Friday with Joan
and Priya.
Tune in every Friday at noon Eastern
on talkradio.nyc.
We're your digital connectors. Woo woo!
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
I don't think
We're live.
Yeah, I think I am. Hi, we're back, and we were talking about Haiti being the one and only free
correct.
Black nation. What's the name of that gentleman? God, you'll help me in a second. It'll come back to me.
Okay.
Yeah, so that who fought and took their freedom.
Talking about one of the forefathers?
No, one of the fighters.
Toussaint Louverture?
Toussaint
Yes.
Louverture.
Yeah, so there
He
were quite a few
initiated
forefathers.
But that's the one that's most popular, and that's the one that I know about.
I mean, you also have Dessalines, you also have Henri Christophe, you also have Boukman. So there are quite a few players when it comes to the history of our revolution. So, you know, again, when it comes to these narratives, people try to find one particular focal point. However, it was a collaborative effort.
Yeah, of course it was a collaborative effort.
Team.
And also what I've discovered is that women played a magnificent and amazing
yes.
role in actually having freedom.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Haiti is still paying France.
I mean, you know, it's just one of those things, you know, I've struggled with it too. I'm like, but we already beat you. Now we got to pay you. I don't understand how this really worked out. But when you someone has to be the scapegoat. And then when people don't really understand the history, they find ways to buy into what they've been told. Like, oh, Haiti deserves what they've done, you know, pacts with the devil and all of these things. And you're like, no, delve in a little bit deeper and see who those players are in the situation that is. Yes, do we have some corrupt leaders? Absolutely.
But doesn't everyone?
We are in a country that has some corrupt leaders. Yep.
45.
Well, yes.
We don't talk about that here. We don't say that's like saying Beetlejuice.
However, I don't even say that man's name. That's my way of revolting. But you know, it's just women, men alike, and then there are those untold heroes that played a part in our victory. Right.
So, so tell me that I sense your passion, like this passion about bringing Haitians and the Dominicans. I always want to say, and the Dominican Republics. No, but it's not. That's what it's called, the Dominican Republic. But bringing Haitians and Dominicans together. You're really passionate about that. Tell me, what is that for you? What was it like growing up in New York City as a Dominican lady?
Well, it wasn't complicated. I mean, I lived in the Bronx, so there weren't many Dominicans in the first place. I lived amongst Puerto Ricans. I lived amongst, you know, African Americans. I lived amongst, you know, Ecuadorians, Guatemalans, you know, people, Chinese. There was just a mixture of all of us who were living together. Now,
what was your experience?
Now I had one Dominican friend, and then she left to Florida, and then I was left alone. And then that was it. So most times people would be like, "Where are you from?" I was like, "Oh, we're Dominican," and they would look at me and they'd be like, "Oh, Puerto Rico," and I'd be like, "No, the other island, you know, in the Caribbean." So it was like
horrible.
So it's, you know, people didn't really at that time didn't know much about the Dominican Republic. So, so in some respect,
I knew nothing of the Dominican Republic. I knew of Dominica, which is a whole nother
island. You're from the Caribbean.
Yeah, it's another island.
So that's what was talked about, right?
Right.
It's the other country in the West Indies, you know, hey, we're part of this, you know, group, team, right? All of that. But yeah, we were kind of non-existent, so to speak. It's like, oh, that thing that like Puerto Ricans, you're Puerto Ricans. That's what it. So it was like, who are you? Who am I inside of this conversation of being Dominican? You know, I'm not, quote unquote, I'm not African American because I have a different perspective, different culture. Definitely, you know, we share the Spanish language with Puerto Rico, but we also have our particular history that is, you know, our own. So it was really growing up and attempting to define myself. I think amongst a group of people who were kind of attempting to know themselves as well, you know, inside of attempting to self-identify. And So growing up in the Bronx, so that's what my experience. But because I grew up in the Bronx, I think, and I didn't grow up necessarily with other Dominicans, like in Washington Heights or anything like that. So
I just down the street, pretty much.
I mean, not necessarily. There's a bus ride that you got to take, but it's not like that. But I think for me, it gave me the ability to really self-reflect and really come to terms with who I say that I am, versus just being thrown into, okay, you're Dominican, that's just what you are.
Right.
It really was. I have friends who are from many different backgrounds, and so that gave me the ability to really see people, like a different perspective than just being in a group of people who were just, like, I can't imagine if I grew up with a whole bunch of other Dominican friends, I probably wouldn't have the perspective that I have right now.
Right.
But because I grew up amongst literally, one of my best friends was from, Chinese, another best friend, African American, best friends for, we were talking about ourselves and our cultures and really expressing ourselves and really I was getting to know more than just me, more than just this one isolated, culture. And then I never understood for myself why many Dominicans were like, oh, those Haitians, oh, there's this, oh, we're not black, oh, I never be like, hold up.
Yeah. And inside of that, I just want to say that what I discovered is that the Dominican Republic and Haiti.
You can say Haiti.
You can say Haiti.
No, I like Haiti.
Haiti.
I like that. It's kind of sexy, right?
It is. That's why I have that too.
Share the same island.
Yeah.
Right. It's like us sharing this room, and just on one side
is you over there,
I'm over here, and you're and the other side you're over there, and never the two shall cross. Right. It's like one island. So tell me a little bit about that.
It's kind of crazy, isn't it? The idea that here you exist on this one island, that because of European history, because of European attempting to conquer and influence. And because Spain at that point was like, it's easier to just, give France that part of the island, so we don't have to deal with them.
Right.
The pirates and the buccaneers, give them that. And so, and we'll have all the other people come to this side, because of this historical.
Did France at the time have a queen or a king? Or was it that young queen?
Napoleon Bonaparte?
No.
During the time of the revolution?
No, that was in the 7th. So we're talking about like the 1500s.
You're talking about prior to that. Oh, yeah, I'm still in revolution time.
Okay.
So I don't know, but what does it matter?
Okay, it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
They attempted to conquer, right? They committed
heinous crimes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you have a population that was 500,000, and then in less than 30 years down to like 5,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was the Africans were down to.
No, we're talking about the Native
Indigenous.
Americans. Which
is
one of the things that
that's across the whole Caribbean, and
But one of the things. So this is one of the things that I really want to kind of fight for, because this is not what's spoken of, right? You have many groups who are able to talk about their genocide, and yet somehow we're not able to talk about ours. There's that's a whole lot of people who were killed,
right?
I'm talking about one island,
right?
Let's not, I haven't even gone into historically finding out what they did in all the rest of the islands. So we can.
in school we learned about the Arawaks, and then they would know more.
Well, the Tainos are part of the Arawak, so, and how they displaced the Garifuna, and, they brought them over to Honduras and Guatemala. And so here, which is the reason why the Caribbean is called the Caribbean, because the Caribs were fighters, and they were scared of them, as they should be. They were like, you got to watch out for that place, right? You got to watch out for them. So what was I saying?
You said why you want to fight for them?
Oh, so I want to fight for this history. I want to remember this, because it's important that we remember those of our ancestors who have died in creating freedom, in escaping, and some of them inside of of finding freedom actually committed suicide because they were
Absolutely.
like, we are not going to be subservient. We are not going to be enslaved. You are not going to attempt to dominate us. And so I think it's important for me to remember this, to remember the strength that is within our bloodline, to remember the strength of then the people who then came after, right? That each and every one of that is a part of who we are as a people, as an indigenous people.
Right. And then to add on to that, I knew when I found out about the Taínos and when I found out that there were ships that didn't even make it onto the land because of the mutiny that happened, it does something to you to know
what does it do to you?
It did something for me to know that the narrative that, because what I was getting from these history classes is that every African that they enslaved was kind of like, okay, we'll follow you onto these boats. We get here, we'll work for you. And some of us might be upset about it. But to learn that there were some ships that didn't even make it, they were like, yeah, no, we're not about this life. It kind of changes this perception that we were docile. Like, you know, that we were willing. There might be some inclination of some type of struggle, but this is outright defiance. They're like, I choose death.
Right.
Death. I will jump. You don't even have to push me. I will choose death before I am subservient to you. Right. That does something to you. It should evoke something in you that you can't even like articulate. And so I know that when I learned of that information, that narrative, I was just like, oh, this is intentional why you're not telling me, because you're going to awaken something that lives deep inside me.
Which is the same purpose that they tried to subvert the whole 1804, like the Haitian Revolution.
We're not going to
1804
recognize you for a good 60 something. You think we're like, yeah, no.
1804. Imagine in the United States what was happening in 1804. Could you imagine if all those black people, all the people on the plantations, if they would have, all of them would have known, oh, excuse me, there's a country in the Caribbean who has risen up and said no.
And not only that, like we were sending other Haitians to other places in South America. And when I learned, I was like, well, what do you mean? Like knowing the relationship between Venezuela. And I was like, wait, what? We contributed to other people's plight. And I just found out that during the Holocaust, the island of Hispaniola opened up their arms to people who were escaping Germany. And I was just like, say what now? So there's still components of our history that I'm still learning that speaks to what the mindset of liberation truly was on that land.
All right. So when we're going to come back, I mean, you guys are really passionate about this. I want to know more about the doll project. Okay. I mean, because this is like a really wide subject, and an hour is just not sufficient enough to really talk about. We're just giving a little platform for you to talk about why you are the way you are, why you're interested in the things you are, and then so that you can also talk about your doll project. But this is really meaty.
Okay.
So we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you a curious person, always asking questions? Do you desire to be in the know? I'm your host, Antonia, of the show So Now You Know. Join me as I attempt to satisfy your curiosity. Listen live Tuesday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. weekly at talkradio.nyc.
If you have an interest in marijuana, you want to know about marijuana, law, policy, and culture, then feel free to join me, Joseph A. Bondi, every Friday at 11 o'clock in the morning on my show In the Know 420 on talkingalternative.com.
We realize the urge to continue to resist the passage of this necessary legislation.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
Hi, this is Noreen, and we're back. It's Beyond Potential, Live Life Your Way, and we're speaking to Clarivel Ruiz and Tasha Duget. Why is someone trying to FaceTime me right now? No, I'm working. So we're talking about oh, you know what I want to delve in a little bit, just have a little bit about Negritude. Am I saying that right?
Negritude. Yeah, it's just an affirmation of our blackness.
Say more about that. It was developed in 1930s.
You have the Google.
Yeah, I do. But I wanted you to. It's you could Negritude, which is a framework, and this is like where you frame your.
Well, isn't us? I read Frantz Fanon's, Black Mask, White Mask.
Oh, I read that when I was 16.
Black skin. Yeah. So he really, for me, in reading his work, it was really an affirmation of my own of being able to see myself within the context of his own experience, and really understanding like why is this behavior? Why have we as Black people done what we've done, or how do we experience our life, or how have we attempted to kind of fit into somebody's box that we don't need to fit into. We don't need to have their experiences.
Absolutely.
We can have our own experiences and our own lives. And it's not to say that I don't love, everyone, that I don't admire and respect and have friends who are white, but I also need to affirm myself. And because that's something that has not been done. I have not received affirmations through through the educational system. I have not received affirmations even sometimes from my own family, and definitely not from growing up culturally Dominican, where we specifically had this dictator who attempted to literally disguise his features, disguise his face, putting white pancake on, like deciding Trujillo, hiding the fact that he also was, Haitian, had Haitian, killing, massacring, creating massacres, and really, and in delving deeper into the history, really being like, well, was this in response to the United States coming into the island and taking over for a specific time, the kind of the ideologies that were brought into the island, where they then were that they wanted to actually they no longer wanted to be called African. He did not want to recognize his own African heritage. So, which is which is why that must have been like really tough for the people that were living in the Dominican Republic that knew themselves as African. It's kind of like having to breed them out, or breed out that consciousness. Or attempting to, but you try to wrangle with it, right? You're attempting to wrangle, because obviously if you look at yourself, you're like, hold up a second. You can't deny the color of your own skin. You can't deny that, even though you do that, right? You straighten your hair, try to take all the kinks out. The best relaxers, girl. The best. You
don't even need a relaxer.
You don't even need
blowout.
Right. It's like, but you do things in order to erase your African heritage, to erase the fact that of what took place on the island. You change history, up a little bit here, a little bit there, and then more and more until people start slowly forgetting. Yes.
Yeah, and there's an amnesia.
Very much so.
That, because this has been going on for so long that people are not even aware of the why. Right. Yeah. I mean, I literally, I have kept looking and I keep looking to be like, what happened between the Dominicans and Haiti? I was like, what is really, you attempted to say people have attempted to ensue this fear. Oh, Haiti's going to take over the island. Well, baby, when Haiti took over the island, they were trying to take the Spaniards out because the Spaniards were trying to come back to enslave everybody. Yeah, I would have wanted them to come too, to be like, yeah, get rid of them, people. We don't want to be enslaved no more. I was like, we don't want to be enslaved no more. I would have been like, yeah, we yes, come here. There were a lot of people so it's like delving into be like there were many more perspectives about what took place, but at the end of the day, you question who is writing this history, and if it's a particular kind of mindset, an elitist mindset, or a dictator, they're going to change the history in order to benefit them.
Exactly, benefit themselves. Okay, and not benefit the people.
So I have a couple of questions here because you talked about some oppression, right? My question is there really, when we think of oppression, right, no matter if we were all beige, just say we were all beige, one color, right? And we had one cultural practices. Don't you think oppression will still exist in some form, in some way?
I really have attempted for myself to find out why historically human beings behave the way that they do, because colonization is not new, right? It's happened, exactly. It's happened time and time again. It's happened in Europe, with English, the Irish, the Welsh. It's like the French, the Gaul, the German. All these people that then they came into Africa, with attempting to do the Romans. There's been this idea time and time again, and I wonder why. What is it about
humans?
What is it about the way the human beings are that there's this necessity when it's just like, but is there really a necessity to do this at all? So would there be oppression? God help us. I hope if I look at history, then I could say yes. But if I'm looking at, if we're having an evolution, because we're having this is a conversation for I'm looking to be like, what is our evolution as human beings? We cannot continue to be the way that we are. It's unsustainable. We're destroying our planet. We're destroying ourselves. This doesn't work anymore. And so ultimately, when I do say Dominicans love Haitians, it's really in honoring like who we are as human beings.
So you're doing your part on the part that you know.
And that when I say those things, that it brings up something for somebody else, even from somebody who's other culture, like, somebody from Guatemala, that happens to me too. That happens to us too, where people who are more indigenous versus people who are more, or from this part of the country, or this part of this, like, we have these things against us. I mean, you look at,
but don't you think that that's just how humans are, right?
I don't think that's how humans are.
That's how we become, or because I'm thinking if we got rid of the oppression, it was, racial oppression, or maybe like, gender oppression, and I'm speaking of all, like gay, straight, LGBT, all of it, right?
Can we just be human and happy?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
But it could be something else. We would take on something else, like, okay, the people with the big nose, or the people who were fat, or
they do that.
We do that. So like, but if we all became one, right, which is not possible, there's always going to be something that we're going to fight about.
Like for me, again, I will piggyback off of Clarivel. It's like, is there always something? Yes, but then it's just like this way to, how do we appreciate those differences rather than use them to put against each other, right? So like when Clarivel was talking about her experience growing up, having had access to those different cultures and not being particularly isolated in one group, she was able to tap into humanity in a way that our society forces us not to do. Right. You know what I mean? So sometimes, yes, it's good.
But society, who is society? Aren't you society, me society? Who is society?
I mean, there is an individual, and then there's a structure, right? And so it's how the individual acts on their own and how they act within the society. Listen, we're all humans. We've been indoctrinated. So for those who have some level of awakening or a day of reckoning within themselves, you are going against what you've been trained to do, because you instinctually, for those who have tapped into it, like, this can't be that thing. That can't be, when you hear other people say, why is this person occupying this space? You're just like, but you're also occupying this space. So who is the one that determines who's to stay and who's to go? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
It really is how majority of us are not introspective, right?
The majority of us are a good. Take that off. Most of us are not compassionate towards each other. Like, I know these things happened. I know, like, for me, I know slavery happened. I know there's a form of oppression. I know that we are all being oppressed in some way, right? I'll be more oppressed than Sam will be, right? Because he's a man and he's white. I'm a Black woman. I'm Caribbean. I'm, all these different things. It's really difficult to say, because oppression is it's just the way we
So that's a paradigm. I mean, it doesn't have to. So we have to step outside of what this paradigm has, that we have created. Right. This paradigm. This does not have to exist. If we created it this way, then we can create something in absolutely in another way. So the question is, how are we going to dive in deep to figure out how we can actually create something where there is no oppression, where that word no longer exists because it only exists inside of our language. And so since it exists, then we have to act inside of it. But we don't. We can actually disappear that word. We can disappear those actions.
So how could we, like, just, you know, devil's advocate here, how can we live in a space of forgiveness? Right?
Well, you have to know the truth first.
Right.
Right. Because even when you say slavery, right, it's such a very common term. Slavery. You know, you get a couple of lashings here and there. You get a couple of, all right, you may have gotten some amputees, whatever. But understand this, you know, my understanding of slavery from the context that was taught to me was completely shattered when I went to Curacao. I always mess up the name of this museum, but it begins with a K. Karaluku. I don't know. I can't remember right now. However, what I learned there it shattered what I thought slavery to be here. For example, there is a chair made out of iron that they would derobe the enslaved African and place them in this 3D chair, right? And then place them out into the hot sun and allow that iron to warm up,
to burn,
to singe their skin. Peeling at the, you know what I mean? Any movement would tear your skin off, and then you're having the vultures pick at your flesh. That was never in my textbook.
And many
other variations of inhumane. I'll give you even this one. I started to read the Black Jacobin, which is like the Bible of the Haitian. I couldn't finish it because by the second chapter, they talked about how they would carve holes into the ground for the pregnant enslaved Africans so that they were still susceptible to the lashings and the beating.
Baby be fine.
That was never a conversation that happened in my history
So
classes.
now you know this, right? So now we know these things. Just say, devil's advocate here.
It's very painful to read these things.
We
and to
know
that our ancestors, what our ancestors went through.
Right, I got that. Right, but now we know these things, and there are atrocities that like ridiculous atrocities that I don't know any human being could actually think of these things. Now we know that these things have happened. We've educated, and we are continually educating. What is the next step?
But that's the whole thing. We aren't educated about this. That's the whole problem, that we aren't educated about what this history that has been literally erased.
No, when I say we, I don't mean the masses, because the masses still know.
They don't know nothing.
They don't know none of that.
Still,
you know, there are descendants of the oppressors that still don't know the extent of the inhumane atrocities that happened.
So now let's just say we've all learned it. Everybody knows this. We know that some form of slavery happened.
Okay, we're looking into the future.
Yeah, I'm looking
everybody
into
knows, everybody knows about
this. Is what I'm saying, right?
Okay, let's go.
I actually wrote that.
We're looking into the future.
Right?
Everyone knows about this.
Right. Everybody knows about what's happening now. What's happening now? Like, what have we left? Like, say it's.
Are we going to go on break so we can think about this?
Yeah,
so.
let's take a break so we can think about it. That was a good call.
Good segue.
No, because
you're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you feeling unhappy with your body, shape, or size? Ever feel out of control with food? I'm Elizabeth from Nourish the Soul, and on this show, you will uncover the root to these imbalances and discover a permanent solution to having a healthy relationship to food and your body. Join us every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Are you into comics, movies, and pop culture at large? What about music and TV? Then you're in for a treat. This is Michael Dolce, your host on TalkingAlternative.com. I've been professionally writing comic books, screenplays, and music articles for almost 15 years. Catch my show, Secrets of the Sire, at its new primetime slot, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and get the inside scoop on the pop culture universe you love to talk about. For more info, go to secretsofthesire.com.
TalkingAlternative.com.
So hi, this is Noreen Sumter from Beyond Potential, Live Life Your Way. And I'm talking to Clarivel Ruiz and Tasha
Duget.
Tasha Duget.
Yes.
I'm never going to get that name right.
It's totally fine.
So you know what? I wanted to ask that question. Going into 100 years from now, I'm saying possibility. Everybody now knows about the atrocities of slavery and oppression and all of that stuff that happened to us as people of color, and the subjections, things that we're being subjected to today. And now just take all of us, all the world, right? All the people in the world who have been subjected to oppressions and things like that, right? I want to leave the question, what is the conversation? How can we build on the future? Like, what is going to be happening? What is happening that now we all know? What is the next step, right? Because I really want to talk about, I really want to go further with that, but it's such a tasty and difficult and mind-spinning conversation that it's like it'll never end, right? And we'll never create a possibility, and it's the possibility that we need to create going forward. I want to talk about the Black Doll Project. I want to do the
That is the step in the right direction,
Absolutely.
right? This affirmation of our love, self-love, the really looking into the authenticity, the authentic space of who we are, really teaching the babies, right? Teaching the babies that
maybe the babies are going to be teaching us.
Well, the babies do teach us.
Yeah.
The babies do teach us.
Because they come in free, clear, and full of love.
All they do is give love. They don't care about anything else. It's us as, when we become adults that we become so mired in such self-loathing and hatred, and they literally don't know anything about that, right?
Right.
We were discussing that. They know nothing about that. All they know is joy. And so I guess really in discussing what can 100 years from now look like, that we do have to step into pure joy. We do have to step into this level of affirmation of ourselves and our love. We have to do the work to undo these conversations, these narratives of unworthiness, and these narratives of shaming each other, these narratives of
guilt.
Oh my God, well, yes, guilt, and this level of not seeing ourselves and someone else, right? To really step outside of this body, this shape, and really be like, who are you? Be more interested in someone else than we are so interested in ourselves.
I wrote an article about that. Be interested in another,
right?
Just as much as you'd be interested in yourself, because I can't be interested in you if I'm not interested in myself.
Absolutely,
right?
and let's stop being. I mean, for myself, I say, being such an introvert, that doesn't help. You're so locked into yourself that you shut out everybody else, and you aren't really delving into like, what has your life been like to someone else? Like, what does it look like to be you, and to really be invested in that? Because I think that's all children want, right? They just want to play. They want to play. They want to love. They want to eat. They want to laugh. They want to go to sleep. They want to be tickled. They just want to be. They want to be held. They want to be. I mean,
don't you think that's what we all want? Don't we think? You think we all want that? Because I would like to be held. I want to be played with. I want to be tickled.
Yeah, but they say so. They let you know.
Right. I think we want to, but like little interjections of things like capitalism have. With that, you know what I'm saying?
But capitalism is always gonna be.
It doesn't have to always. It doesn't always have to be there.
So then, what's next?
Because it's that individual. Capitalism. It's
actually imploding. It's actually imploding on itself right now.
Again, everything is created, so that means that we can create something else, right? We can take it out of our language. We can
what is that?
We can set up bartering systems. We can set up gift stations. We can literally, we can imagine something as we are attempting to imagine right now. We can, we're donating dolls to each other. It's like, people are sending me dolls to send it to someone else. It's not. I'm just the vehicle. I'm just the vessel to to receive it. But I'm sending it to someone else to send it to someone else, because it doesn't. I don't exist inside of this.
Absolutely.
I'm only a space in order to bring, right? And maybe that is what is much more needed. This idea of gifting of.
So what if we looked at? Yes, we know all the. I mean, I know people are going to punch me in the face or whatever, but What if we just looked at, like, slavery is a thing that happened. All these oppressions are things that happened. Just hear me out for a second. Because I don't know whether, and it's fine. Your face can be however your face wants to be. But there has to be some possibility created, right? What if we had a space where it could be a space of forgiveness, and not people have to feel guilty about what happened in the past, right? Or we have to relive that thing over and over. It is ugly. It was. I don't even have words for how bad it was, right? And fortunately, we're not living that way today in that drastic sense.
Not in that way.
Not in that drastic sense, right? So what if we opened up spaces where we became the gift?
Thankfully, because we live in the United States. We're not living in that way, but that doesn't mean that people are not living that way in the Dominican Republic or in Haiti or in other countries where it is a drastic situation, where it is a question between how much money do I have money to buy something or do I do it? Well, that means let me have the dinner or, transportation, where it is, or it's happening.
Well,
here
these
in this
things,
country.
don't you think those things have always been, there's always been homelessness. There's always been hunger. There's always, it's just that it's not more prevalent now because we're not in our little cities or we're not in our home.
I don't know if there's always been homelessness. I don't know. I would have to go back to some type of history. I'm saying, like, when we were indigenous living were people homeless?
Not people. Well, I'm thinking people had maybe we weren't homeless.
Community took care of each other.
But maybe we weren't homeless. But maybe we had.
We weren't hungry.
But even when we talk about children, you know what I'm saying, and how they are when they're younger, they live in a space of necessity and not excess.
Well, that's
choice.
I mean? In this society,
like, we don't need all of these additional things. It's like, okay, my neighbor needs bread and I have fruit. We're what I'm saying? We're going to share that. Someone has potatoes.
You can create that. You can create that within your community, within your building. When my neighbor has cooked an excess amount of food, she knocks on my door and says, "We made a lot of food. Do you want
know
it?"
each other,
right?
But that's the smaller.
I get 4. No, I know everybody in my building. There's 32. There's people in my community. I know people. I put myself out there to know my people, right?
And that is something that
has been lost.
That is something that,
but it isn't lost because it's over there with you.
We have to develop our.
It's over there with you and you and me, and we have to share
this level
that.
of trust. You do that.
Yes.
You know everybody.
I don't know. I just moved, so I'm learning.
Okay.
Right? But it's something that we have to do for self, and then we have to give it away. It's like my
part
thing
of our
is
training that has to be. This is the kind of conversation that needs to constantly be had, though, so that people know that this is something that's available to each and every one of us.
But it's available. Because, you doing it, me doing it,
but
sharing it.
If you don't share it, then somebody else is not going to know. Hey, why don't you get connected to all the people in your building? Hey, why don't you start getting connected to all the people in your block?
You know what it is? A lot of people are afraid to do that because it's that they don't want to hear she's nosy. I don't give a damn.
Oh, she's crazy.
Right. Or she's crazy. Well, I am nosy and I am crazy. Right. Because when my neighbor cooks a lot of food, she hits me up. When I cook a lot of food, which is very rarely, but maybe I'll give in the sense of I'll give if I get an abundance of something, like I got an abundance of flowers.
Can we have people call in? Like,
yeah, of course people can call in. 877-480.
You want to say, you got to call in.
We got 3 minutes.
We got 3 minutes. So somebody better be on the hot mic. You better
877
if you're gonna call in to say, because Kathleen is saying I'm angry. Erica's saying reparations. You guys are all over the place. Ashley said you guys are all over the place. This is a hot topic.
It's a very, very hot topic. Yes. We can
so can I just say really briefly, like, why I got involved with the Black Doll Project?
Absolutely.
Primarily because I am of darker skin, and just having to have that narrative, like, you're not good enough, right? You cute for a dark-skinned girl, or you're cute for a dark-skinned and Haitian girl. So it's just like, wait, what are all of these things that you're putting on top of me? But in knowing that, again, going back to that strain that was in kind of like put on us by our colonizers, this is the conversation that happens in silos.
Yes,
right?
You're right?
And so for Clarivel to take this narrative and put it into a platform with something that is so simple as a doll, but has such an impact, it was just like, yes, because that's the beginning of the seed, right? That's how it starts to cultivate and say, like, you know what? Oh, this is okay. This doll with the big lips. Oh, I have big lips too. This doll with the wide nose. Oh, that's okay. Starting to break down the things that they're going to see later on. They now are building up their arsenal of images to combat the things that they're going to see later on. And that's one of the reasons why I was very much elated to see her project.
Okay. So we have 2 more minutes. And Clarivel, I'd like you to use that platform to share.
So donate a doll.
Yes.
So donate a black doll. So
where can they get the doll? How can you get the doll?
Well, you can hand make a doll. If, we are going to be having workshops for people to hand make dolls. You can purchase a doll. I would prefer if you can purchase a doll from a black owned company. There are those, especially on Instagram, that you can find them like Maravilla, and I'm going to be putting that information up on my Instagram because I think that's important. And of course, if you go to Target, there are people who have bought dolls at Target and at Toys R Us. And it is that we have to have our children be affirmed. We need to have, especially in the Caribbean, especially in the Dominican Republic, especially in Spanish, these Spanish speaking countries, who have this denial of their African heritage, their lineage, their history, denial of the things that have taken place. Yes, will there be a time? I hope there will be a time where we don't need to talk about these things constantly. I hope so. I hope that we can live into something that is greater than where we are right now. But this conversation must be had in order for us to get to that other step.
Okay.
So
Tasha, thank you.
Thank
coming
you.
on the show. Say your last name again.
Dujay.
Dujay.
There you go. You got it.
Dujay. And Clarivel, thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And you guys should come on again because this is a hot topic. And it's not something that's going to be sorted in 1 hour. No. It's just
1 hour with breaks.
Yeah. 1 hour with breaks. Shut up. So thank you very much. And for the people that signed on to chime in, and next time when they come on, you can call in. So this is Noreen Sumter saying thank you very much to Beyond Potential, Live Life Your Way. And I'll talk to you next week where I'll have Dewey, who is the producer of Blue Sky in Brooklyn. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Hey.
Bye.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.